We begin tonight in the NFL with Thursday night football as the Buffalo Bills beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-18 on Thursday night football. As Baker Mayfield, he went 25 of 42. He threw for 237 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. For the Bills, Josh Allen went 31 of 40. He threw for 324 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Here's Bills head coach Sean McDermott after the game.
Okay, good to get another win here, at home in particular. Crowd was outstanding again, and what a beautiful night in Western New York. Great to see us spread the ball around. I thought the effort and the production from Gabe and Khalil was important for us. All receivers, tight ends included, were involved. I think Dalton had, 8 targets, 5 catches. Good to see him get going there as well. I thought Coach Dorsey called a good game, and then the special teams. Sam Martin had a heck of a game. Pinning them down deep into their own end zone, and that helped us from a complementary football standpoint.
That was Bills head coach Sean McDermott after the Bills' 24-18 win over the Buccaneers last night. So, my biggest takeaway from this game is as we head into week 8 of the NFL season, we are getting close to the midway point of the season, and this is the time of year where you have your people and teams who you feel like are contenders. You see that in reality, they are pretenders. As we get into the second half of the season, the real teams separate themselves from the fake teams. And I feel like in the beginning of the NFL season, the first 4, 5, or 6 weeks of the season, when the weather is great, the sun is shining, a lot of teams look good. Offensively, they move the football up and down the field, and there's no inclement weather to worry about in the first half of the season. But as we get into the second half of the season, contenders separate themselves from the pretenders. The real football teams separate themselves from the fake football teams. And I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a team that was a pretender masquerading as a contender in the first 4 weeks of the season. And now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are finally coming back down to earth. In the first 4 weeks of the season, the Buccaneers were 3-1, and also in the first 4 weeks, Baker Mayfield, he had 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions with a 140 passer rating on third down. In the last 3 weeks, Baker Mayfield on third down, 0 touchdowns. His completion percentage is only 50%, and his passer rating is 70%. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were never contenders in the NFC. They were pretenders in the NFC, and the Bills proved that they are legit contenders in the AFC in a way, but I still got my questions about the Bills, but they're more contenders than the Bucs are. And so in this matchup, the Bills had the better quarterback. They had the best receiver on the field in Stephon Diggs. For the game, Stephon Diggs had 9 receptions for 70 receiving yards, but Gabe Davis had a tremendous performance, 9 receptions, 87 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. So the Bills have the better quarterback. They have the better weapons at receiver right now at the moment, and they also have a quarterback in Josh Allen who is better than Baker Mayfield is. And over the last few years, since I would say the Bucs won the Super Bowl, the Bills have been a better football team than the Buccaneers are. And I felt like that showed last night. But the Bucs, they're not going to be a playoff team. They won't win the NFC South. Even though the Saints are struggling right now, I still believe that the Saints are the favorites in the NFC South. And I don't even believe the Buccaneers are a team that can compete for a wild card spot. I think as the season wanes, the Buccaneers are going to be similar to teams like the Tennessee Titans. Teams that are pretty much punting on the season, and they know we're not going to compete in the AFC. The Tennessee Titans know they are not contenders in the AFC. So they have pretty much punted on the 2023 season and are currently shopping Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be right behind them as the season moves forward because they're not contenders in the NFC. Now, when it comes to the Buffalo Bills, do I believe that the Buffalo Bills are contenders in the AFC? Yes. But they're not Super Bowl contenders. The Bills are playoff contenders, but they're not Super Bowl contenders. And coming into the season, I picked the Dolphins to win the AFC East, and I also picked the Jets to make the playoffs as a wild card team out of the AFC East. But because of Aaron Rodgers' injury and me feeling like Aaron Rodgers will not return this season, I don't give a damn what the Jets say. Aaron Rodgers will not play again this season. So because of that, a playoff spot opened up in the AFC. And I feel like the Buffalo Bills could be that last team that makes the postseason out of the AFC East into the AFC playoffs. Now, it's going to be tough for the Bills moving forward because they did suffer some injuries defensively. Defensively, they did lose Milano and they lost Tre'Davious White as well for the season. So they're going to have to replace White and Milano as the season goes along. But offensively, obviously, they still got Josh Allen at quarterback. And Josh Allen, for the season, he has 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 2,165 receiving yards, 72 completion percentage. Josh Allen is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. But the one problem that the Bills have with Josh Allen is a turnover machine. He threw another interception last night. And for his career, Josh Allen has 90 turnovers so far in his career. That's the most in the NFL since 2018. So, unlike Joe Burrow, unlike Patrick Mahomes, unlike Lamar Jackson, the Buffalo Bills quarterback and Josh Allen has a turnover problem. So if the Buffalo Bills want to be true Super Bowl contenders, they need their quarterback to protect the football better. And that's been the biggest issue for the Buffalo Bills. It really, really has. And I look at the Buffalo Bills overall so far this year. In the first 7 games of the season, the Bills this year are not as good as they were last year. Last year, in the first 7 games of the season, the Bills were 6-1. They averaged 308 passing yards per game, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for Josh Allen. This year, in the first 7 games, the Bills, before last night, were 4-3. They averaged 257 passing yards per game, and Josh Allen had 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That was in the first 7 games. Now he currently has 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions from last night. But I just got my questions about the Bills. Like, they were the team for me that heading into the season were like the team that was going to be on the outside looking in once the playoffs started. I had them as like the 8th or 9th best team in the AFC, but because the Jets lost Aaron Rodgers for the season, I felt like, okay, there's a possibility for the Bills to sneak into the playoffs as a wild card team. Because even though the Bills beat the Miami Dolphins, I still feel like the Dolphins are better than the Bills. That's how I feel. I still feel that way. Now, again, if the Bills beat the Dolphins in their second matchup of the season in Miami, maybe I'll change my opinion. But I still feel like the Miami Dolphins are the favorites in the AFC East. And the Bills losing Milano and Tre'Davious White, it really hurts them defensively. It really, really hurts their defense. And so I look at their defense. The Bills struggle to stop the run. They give up 122 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 22nd in the NFL. And teams are able to convert on third downs against this Bills defense. They give up 40% conversions on third down. So they got to get better defensively. But it's going to be interesting for the Bills because their next 5 games, week 9, they are in Cincy to take on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Week 10, they are home against the Broncos. That's a game they should win. Week 11, they are home against the Jets. They already lost to the Jets in week 1. So that's a game the Bills could lose. They could lose to the Jets. But then week 12 against the Eagles, they have that game in Philly. Definitely a game they could lose. And then week 14, they are in Kansas City. So these next 5 weeks for the Bills are going to be interesting. Bengals, Broncos, Jets, Eagles, Chiefs. I could see the Bills going 2-3 in that stretch. They could beat the Jets and beat the Broncos and lose to the Bengals, Eagles, and Chiefs. They got to beat. They have to win one of those 3 games against the Bengals, Eagles, and Chiefs. At least one. If you go 1-2 against the Bengals, Eagles, and Chiefs, I think that would help the Bills and their chances at being able to make the playoffs. But you can't go 0-3 against the Bengals, Chiefs, and Eagles. Can't go 0-3. But again, these next 5 games are going to be interesting for the Buffalo Bills. Tampa Bay, they are not contenders. They are pretenders. And we're starting to see that as the season wanes.